It's time for the roll call of 2013 Disney movies that nobody gives a crap about. There's Planes, Monsters University, Oz the Great and Powerful, the Final Buddies movie, and The Lone Ranger. Yet another big flop that lost a lot of money for the company. Dear Lord. And the Marvel movies weren't that good either. There was Iron Man 3, which is generally viewed to be better than 2, but not as good as 1. And Thor the Dark World, which is usually viewed as the worst film in the MCU. Although there were 2 movies that came out that year that I really want to talk about. The first one being Saving Mr. Banks. Basically, the film is the making of Mary Poppins, but not like a documentary, is a biography. So far, the only Disney film that has ever done that. I mean, sure, Disney has made documentaries based on their own works and creators such as Frank and Ollie, Waking Sleeping Beauty, and most recently, the Imagineering story on Disney+. But never did they do a full-blown biography with Walt and the gang just making one of their movies. The story of Mary Poppins is actually a very interesting story because P.L. Travers was pretty much just saying no to absolutely everything. Emma Thompson is great as P.L. Travers. Tom Hanks is spectacular as Walt Disney. I mean, it's Tom Hanks. I mean, does he even have a bad performance? I mean, how can you go wrong with the Forrest Gump? Forrest Gump. I mean, Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump might possibly be his best performance. Oh crap! But his performance as Walt Disney was really good. He might not exactly like look the part, I guess. Really. In fact, all the other actors in the film actually do a really good job portraying the characters that they are. Like the Sherman brothers and the writer and all those guys. And P.L. Travers' dad. So, oh yeah, the film's got a half a biography on the making Mary Poppins and half a biography on P.L. Travers' life. So, no spoilers, just pick up a copy. I'm pretty sure it's on Disney+. And, yeah. The other, more obvious film that came out that year is, of course, Frozen. Now, of course, Frozen was a huge success. And, it was the biggest animated movie that came out that year. The biggest Disney movie that came out that year. Probably the biggest animated movie of the decade, maybe? I don't know. It's just that this movie made such a phenomenon to the point where last year in 2019 there was a sequel, which we'll be talking about later. And yeah, I'm not surprised that it became a phenomenon because it's still a dang good movie. Some may think it's a bit overhyped or like it's not good, but I feel like the people who hate Frozen are just the people who hate the fact that it's freaking everywhere. And it had really nothing to do with the movie itself. Anyway, Frozen, Saving Mr. Banks, they're great movies. Probably the top 2 best movies that Disney released that year. In 2014, there were films that absolutely nobody remembers, such as $1 Million Arm, Planes, Fire and Rescue, and Alexander, the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Dear Lord, what a title. And Steve Carell's in it. Why, Stevie? There was also the Disney live-action remake that pretty much made this whole thing a yearly tradition. Maleficent. I have not seen Maleficent, and I have not seen its sequel either, and I did not want to watch this film for the video because the only films that I've watched for this video were films that I've watched for this video years ago before I even thought of making this video. So yeah. And the rest of the year wasn't very good either. There was Big Hero 6, which was pretty alright. Which, fun fact, not many people actually know this, but this is actually the first and so far only Disney animated movie to be based on a Marvel comic book. So yeah. You thought Into the Spider-Verse was the first theatrically released animated Marvel movie? Wrong! There was Into the Woods, which I thought was perfectly fine, but from what I've heard, the Broadway show is a million times better. And the highlight for Disney 2014 for me being Muppets Most Wanted. I think it was probably even better than like the first movie in terms of like its comedy and storytelling and just full on drama. Easily the first movie count is better. Like not the very first Muppet movie, but like the first of the millennial, like the previous movie, okay? The previous Muppet movie, right? God. So yeah, Muppets Most Wanted and the Marvel movies, I feel, were like the only really good movies to come out of Disney in 2014. And the Marvel movies being Captain America: The Winter Soldier, an excellent sequel, and Guardians of the Galaxy, an amazing movie. It's funny as frick. Just go watch it, man. Just watch it right now. Now, before we move on to 2015, I should mention another thing that happened in 2014 for Disney. It was another one of their buyouts, and it was perhaps their stupidest buyout ever. It was the acquisition of Maker Studios. For those of you who don't know, Maker Studios is a multi-channel network, which is pretty much a network that basically gives YouTubers, some benefits to help their channel grow and all that stuff in exchange for some of their ad revenue. However, Disney bought Maker Studios in 2014. Now, here's the thing. Around this time, multi-channel networks have already been known to screw people over. In fact, one of the most famous examples at the time, or probably still ever, was when Maker themselves ended up screwing over Ray William Johnson. And their split ended up becoming the cancellation of Ray William Johnson's music channel, Your Favorite Martian. So, yeah, people were pretty much aware the bullcrap that YouTube networks give to the creators. But Disney still decided to waste a bunch of money on purchasing the network. Oh, and by the way, they also owned Blip. Maker Studios also owned Blip, which means next year Blip ended up shutting down. So yeah. Oh, and one last thing about Maker Studios. Did you know that two of his co-founders were Shane Dawson and Philip DeFranco? I don't know why, but I kind of find that a bit fascinating. So I guess you could say that Disney didn't really end off the first half of the decade on a good note. Let's see how they'll start off the second half of the decade. Oh, what does this year give us? It gave us a Pixar movie that actually made the company lose money for once. The first live-action remake that wasn't, too bad with Cinderella. And there's McFarlane USA, which I know absolutely nothing about. All I gotta say is that if it's not about this McFarlane, I'm not interested. Also, Tomorrowland came out that year. Does anyone remember that Tomorrowland was a thing? Because I don't. Oh, and, so, yeah. There was, Inside Out that came out that year. The Pixar movie that people actually came to see. And, yeah, I freaking love this movie. It's like the best Pixar movie, I might say. The best Pixar movie. The best Pixar movie. I'm just saying. You know, Pixar made a whole lot of sequels this decade. Why the frick didn't they give this a sequel? And Pixar is done with sequels for a while. I legit really want to see an Inside Out sequel. That'd be freaking amazing. So, please, Pixar, make Inside Out 2 a thing. And of course, the Marvel movies. There was Ant-Man, a film I do not own on DVD, but I remember it being a really fun heist movie. After the massiveness that was Avengers Age of Ultron. Yes, definitely considered like the worst of the Avengers movies. Like it's not too bad, but it's like when people say, "Oh, what's your least favorite Avengers movie?" I'm pretty sure they'll say, "Oh, easily Age of Ultron." So, yeah. I mean, it's not, like, bad to say. It's just, like, well, that was a thing. Speaking of things, are there any other movies that came out in 2015? Like, specifically, like, Disney movies that came out in 2015 that I'm forgetting? Like, I think I am. Like, it had to do with some, like, obscure sci-fi franchise from like the 70s and 80s that Disney acquired like not too long ago. I think I mentioned this in like the ending of part 1. Like, what is it? What could it be? It's Star Wars! It's Star Wars! It's Star Wars. It's not a Trek, it's a Star Wars. Get that Star Trek out of here. It's Star Wars.